Andrea, how do I say your last name?
Chebeleu.
Chebeleu, is it French?
It's Romanian. My husband was Romanian.
Oh, how awesome. That comes from
Yeah.
the Romance language. That's
It
very cool.
does.
California, born and bred or trans?
California, born and bred. I took a long trip around to settle back in California. So, started in California and here's where I am again. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I'm a
It's,
California girl.
are you? Yeah, I can
Yeah.
sense that, right?
Yeah.
We know each other a little bit.
I
Yeah.
was raised in Southern California. I spent a few years in the Rockies, did my young 20s in California, and joined the military. How does an artist join the military? I'm not sure, but it was probably exactly what I needed. And met my husband, who's from the East Coast. So in 99, we moved out here. And I missed California terribly. Now I just miss missing California. I got used to it here. But the good news is I'm coming for a visit and I'm coming to meet you and I'm coming to spend time in San Jose where my mom is, and I'm coming to, for the first time since 2019, teach in person. But
Yeah.
anyway, let's get
Yeah.
into the heart of why you do what you do and how you got here.
Oh my gosh. I love, 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 love just making things. Just making things. I was always a kid that, I had a lot of alone time. I was an only child. So I'm just made stuff from the get-go. All my life, it's always been something like sewing. My grandma was a seamstress, or home decor, like, fixing things up and, making my home nice, and then introduced scrapbooking. And, shortly thereafter, kids, right? Kids and scrapbooking, and all just
I love it. Do you know how many women I've come across that I realized that that was kind of our gateway back into making more painting type, mixed media type. But
Yeah.
scrapbooking, I think, was the gateway for so many of us from the 2000s into the teens. And then suddenly we realized there was more to give.
95. Yeah. 1995 is when I started, and I ended up doing it as an actual business, which kind of takes the joy out of it. I'll just say, for me, it did, at least. But I did that as a business, and it's what moved me out of my home studio into a commercial space. And so now I've been in a commercial space for 20 some odd years.
Wow.
Yeah, so I lose count. I'm not real good with like tracking how many years,
Even
whatever.
even through the ups and downs of like economy
Yeah.
crashing and COVID and
Absolutely. What was interesting is, because economy crashing tends to mean that people aren't going on big, long, extended vacations, but they are investing in these short, like they'll invest in classes, they'll, like it's not super unaffordable. And so they need to do something, which I'm so grateful that I'm there to provide that. And that was the same thing with COVID when we could no longer get out anymore. My first initial instinct was, oh my goodness, I'm relying on butts and seats to pay my rent on this 3,200 square feet that I have in downtown San Jose. I'm like, ay, how am I going to do this? But luckily, I am a techie person. And so I had everything already purchased and said, like, that's how I teach. In my classroom, you'll be there. You'll see I have a document camera, it projects to a screen. All the tech is there. And so it was just a matter of me bringing that from the studio home, because our internet's much better at home. We were called out of place, like we're shelter in place or whatever, on the 13th, and the 17th was my first class. 4 days later, I was up and teaching on Zoom.
Amazing. I mean, I was already primed in position because I was already teaching online. But let's go back to of course, in the 90s and the 2000s, really, we weren't doing online teaching at all. So the only option was in person. And oh man, I remember some of those scrapbooking events that were just like heaven for me, because I wanted the break from the kids and I wanted to be around other creatives. And it was probably in some ways harder to find at the time, but man, I loved it. So you started with scrapbooking, probably scrapbooking and card making and stamping and
exactly, paper crafting, all the things. And then that led into, I had a student walk into my studio to rent some time, because I would just, rent the studio by the hour. You could come in and just use it like your own big craft room. She came in with a cloth, paper, scissors magazine, and I had never seen one before. And my mind just went, it's like, what is this magic? So all the things that I was using for scrapbooking for others, now I'm seeing done in altered books and artist trading cards. And I'm like, whoa, hold the phone.
Okay, when was that?
That must have been, I know the studio I was in. So it was about 16 years ago.
Oh, late 2000s.
Late 2000s, 2007, 8, maybe, like right in there. Yeah.
That's about when I had my wake up too. My third was born, and I just had that moment where I'm like, okay, I'm using everybody else's stickers and designs and papers to make art, and I just want to use my product, my ideas, my creations to then make art.
Yeah.
Because I do have an art background from prior to joining the military. I just art school military. One was going to be expensive, the other one paid me. So,
You
making a
know,
choice there.
yeah.
But coming full circle, I gave myself time to transition.
Hmm.
It was the fall of 2008 when I was like laying there on the trampoline with my little several-month-old baby, and I was just like, I'm giving myself 2 years to start making my art again.
Yeah.
But it was things like seeing where the evolution of even scrapbooking was going, because it was no longer just a photograph and some stickers and some words. It started becoming very much spraying paint and just all these lovely pretty
Yes.
layers. And that's when I was like, oh, this is what I remember wanting to do.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
And as you were saying that, it just reminded me how there was a time back then where I felt this very distinct resistance from women to take time for themselves. And the only
Mhm.
justification they could make for taking time for themselves is this thought that they were creating some sort of legacy thing for their family, which, may or may not be true. But
I mean,
it's
I keep
like
wondering who's going to take all of these big
I
books,
know, right?
scrapbooks.
Let me tell you, when I did it for hire, we're talking like filling library shelves in clients, houses with these huge
Right,
leather bound, close to my
right.
heart, leather bound journals that were just filled, which is great. But back to the point of women taking time for themselves, there was so much resistance to that. And it did not resonate with me. I even back then knew how very important this creative act was
Yeah.
and how very healing it was and how very connected to spirit it was. It felt like this is not an extravagance. This to me felt as important as going to the gym, as going to, the grocery store, making sure that I'm buying lots of healthy foods. This was part of my like health practice.
So for sure, it's
Yeah,
that need to still have something for yourself, for your own personal growth, for your own self-exploration, the connection with
absolutely.
what's
Absolutely.
inside.
Otherwise, I would have lost that. And I saw that happening with so many of my friends. And I just was like, just don't like let that happen. Don't lose yourself, right?
Lose yourself.
Don't
But I
lose
still
yourself.
find that women today have that same struggle,
They,
especially
they do. I think
those.
that just the narrative contrary to that is getting louder, and I'm really happy for that.
Me too. Like, it's like, finally, this is our time. Whether you work outside of the home or your full-time work is in the home as a stay-at-home mom or working from home, we all work and we all need some sort of, it's all work. It's like,
Yeah.
and even running your own art business. Now I feel like I need art as an outlet for my art business. Like,
There's two distinct kinds of art that I make, art that's being filmed, and there's
right.
art that's on my couch when nobody's watching, right? I'm just
Those
cozied up
are,
in the corner of the couch
I
with my new
finally started
everything
to,
journal. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, and I'm so excited to learn more about your everything journal. When did you transition the physical space though into more than just scrapbooking type stuff? Was it
Uh,
very soon after that you started bringing that in?
yeah. So it was always like stamping, card making, scrapbooking from the time I moved out into the commercial space in 1999, 2000. Let's just say 2000, round it. It was always that. And then I started adding more and more and more. So it's just been this like gradual transition to what it is now. I had a business partner for a minute in one of my locations, and her business was scrap lovers. It's no longer in business, but scrap lovers, and I'm a work of art. And so for a period of time, we were scrap lovers at a work of art because
Okay.
I did the teaching part and she did the supplies part. And she
Mhm.
was a very eclectic scrapbook online store. It was very
Okay.
mixed media heavy. And so that made it really easy to kind of transition into that.
I
So
love that. And
yeah.
now how long have you been in the location you're at in San Jose?
Right now I've been there in June, it'll be 6 years.
And weathered through the online transition, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad people are still coming to your store, because I was like, in fact, you even showed pictures. I knew you were there and I'd been thinking about it for a long time, but you had shown pictures of your studio and I'm like, that is the nicest place to teach. I am going to have to reach out to her.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so glad you did. And anybody else who's listening, if you want a place to teach in San Jose, like reach
Yeah.
out to me because I love collaborations and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so one of the reasons I wanted to do this, besides the fact that I wanted to meet you and have something fun to do while I was in San Jose, not that I can't find a million fun things to do when I'm with my mom, because she's like probably my best friend. And we always have fun things to do. But I really want to connect again in person with people. And I've missed that, though I love teaching online and I'm really mostly passionate right now as I transition my business into business coaching
Mhm.
and supporting people that way. Every now and then, it's just so important to like be face to face and see how people are experiencing making art so I can take that information back. I can see how people's hearts are aligning with what's happening. I can feel that energy again. It's like
Yeah.
something magical about being in person that we've almost gotten so accustomed in the last 3 years to just miss.
Yeah. It's strangely bizarre, but it is this feedback loop that you get when you're in person, and you
Mhm.
get it to some degree online. But don't you find that online it just seems like I'm looking for the comments, I'm looking for the likes, I'm looking for whatever, and that's the feedback that I'm getting. And when
Mhm.
you're in a room with people actually learning something, you
Yeah.
get to actually hear them go, you know,
Right.
you don't get to hear that when they're
Right.
trying to, you know, like you're missing so much when they're consuming your content pre-recorded or whatever. Like that's the part that I miss,
Exactly.
don't really realize that I miss. Now, there are lots of parts that I really appreciate doing recorded classes or even live Zoom classes and stuff like that. I still love that. I will never stop that. I
Me
will
too.
never stop that.
Because
Uh,
then we have the ability to support and teach people around the world and not
for
just those who
sure.
come in
And it's
person.
like and it's like the effort that I've done one time can then live on, sort of, you
Mhm.
know, evergreen, sort of not evergreen but it is, it's
Yeah,
evergreen
but from a
content.
business point
Definitely.
of view, you're right.
Absolutely.
Then we can kind of maximize
I
the
mean,
income.
I can teach watercolor 101 one time, and I don't have to have that be like a regular repertoire of my
Right.
teaching. It's recorded. You can go buy it. This is what I consider, you know, the basics, chapter one. So,
Yeah. And I will never give up online teaching because I feel like it's just so flexible and so dynamic and so easy to reach so many people.
yep.
But I think now, and those who are, avid listeners who are growing a business, consider putting in person back into your schedule
Yeah.
at least once or twice a year so that you are actually connecting properly, like in real time, in real energy, in real physical flesh.
Yes. Yeah.
That really changes things again. And it doesn't have to be high price. I don't think our courses for the 12th and 13th are going to be very expensive at all. Very
Back to
affordable.
they're actually back to pre-COVID prices, which is a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so I'm looking forward to that and then getting the feedback in more real time. But yeah, there's a balance between the two. Obviously, the more economical point of view is to create online courses of some sort or another, online experiences, whether it's a course, a membership, a summit, or Zoom, or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
guided
And
or
there's a
evergreen. There's so many ways to do it online.
yeah.
Because let's be honest, by the time I paid for the flight and everything to get there, really, I'm just doing this to cover the costs of the trip and have
Exactly.
fun and meet people.
Exactly. And there's just something about that part. I remember talking with Julie Balzer decades ago. She's taught for
Mhm.
me lots of times in the studio. And she was talking about that. Like, yes, I definitely make more money teaching online. And that's where my income comes. That's how I support my family. But there's something that doesn't fill me up there that I only get in person. So even though it doesn't, you know, financially make the most sense to do that all the
Mhm.
time, definitely getting what you get and recognizing how it fills your soul to be there with like-minded creatives, and
Exactly.
it fills up that well, right? I get rejuiced,
Yeah.
re-excited. Like I'm like, ooh, I really do love this. I love what I do. I love teaching. I love, you know, experimenting and playing with stuff, and doing it with other people is just the best.
I know. Even Robin Marie Smith, she's a friend of mine. Robin Marie said that she did the Squam with Kyla Givehan last year, and it just like something clicked in her head.
Yeah.
Like that experience, obviously, it's not a high paying job. It's really almost like you just don't have to pay for the retreat yourself. You don't really make
Right,
money
right.
as an instructor, but you do it because of the love of it. And I noticed when she said, I was like, yeah, something even when she was talking about it flipped in my head. I'm like, yeah, that is the missing component. And I think it's
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
even though you're just recovering from COVID now because it's still a thing,
It's
but it's
still a thing.
time now that it's not as big of a thing that we get back in person.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And it's a very, I just hosted my first retreat where it was just me back at the end of March. And it was incredible. It was just
I
the
bet.
energy, the connection that people had. And I have to remind myself, because then I'll get like, well, I'm hoping that I'm going to give them all the content that they want. And I know that I will, right? But
Mhm.
I remember there being teachers that I would bring in that people would say, you know what, I don't care. She could teach us how to tie her shoe. I just want to be there with her and like
Right.
absorb some of her, you know, energy or his energy, right? Because I've had male teachers there as well. But it's
Yeah.
just that there's just nothing like that. There's just
There
nothing like,
isn't, and it could be the same thing that they're teaching online, but it's different when you do it in person because you can ask in real time questions, you can ask, you learn, honestly, the students teach me so much and they teach each other so much.
exactly. That's the thing that people don't get when you are elbow to elbow or shoulder to shoulder, or, you know, 6 feet apart because we're socially distanced, right? When
Yeah,
you're like that, right? Right. When you're like that, you not only get what the teacher's teaching you, you get all of the students that are around you. You're looking around. You can't do that on the screens, right? And you're like, oh
no,
my gosh, what color did you use? Oh, how did you get that effect? You're now getting exponentially more
right.
instruction by showing up for something in person.
Right, and we share it in our Facebook groups and online and whatnot, which
Yeah,
is really nice, but it's not the ability to actually watch your artist friends, your colleagues, whomever, the other students in real time creating as well. And like, I've always used this tool, and you're like, oh, mind blown.
right. Yes,
And so like even for me, I'm learning stuff from the students all the time. Like I understand color composition and design, but I don't know every mixed media technique that's out there. And also we're inventing new stuff all the time, right?
exactly. Yeah. And
So
repurposing and repackaging and like mashing it up. I love that stuff.
I
Yeah.
love that fiber arts is really coming to the forefront right now of mixed
Yes.
media.
See
It's
that a
like
lot.
super taking over, and I'm so excited for that because I have a background in quilting and sewing and decor, just like you. Like I
Yeah.
made everything. Prom
Yep.
dresses, I made them because
Yep.
they were going to be more interesting if I made them. Plus, I wanted to be Molly Ringwald, who made her own prom dress, but that's a whole
I can totally see that. Yeah.
nother.
That's awesome.
But I love that fiber arts and just so many different like ways. I've had some crazy ideas in my mind for ages, and I've just, I did go through a phase myself of proper art, because I come from an artist background. My
Right.
father's an artist, an oil painter, and my great uncle and whatever. And like if you want to be in galleries, it's proper art. And there was something that clicked for me a few years ago that was finally like, you know what? I want to have fun when I make art, and I don't give a shit about proper art. Like, I don't care if I'm using house paint or gluing stuff on, like whatever goes, because
Yeah.
that's when the joy comes out. And I
Yep.
love taking the things I learned from scrapbooking and my earlier years of crafting and putting it in what I'm making now. And I think it
Or the
is
tools.
anything can be, yeah, the tools,
Tools.
any
Oh my
of it.
goodness. All those texture plates, all
Yeah,
the different ways that we can use those texture plates now with like rub. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I
Yes.
know
All the stuff. It gets
all
used
the
again. It
stuff.
all comes back. Yeah.
It all comes full circle, and I realize I need all those layers. I need all of those ways of being playful, and I need it to be sparkly and fun and pink, and I don't care.
Yeah.
Speaking of sparkly and fun and pink, for those who are watching the video, I had my big celebration for the first week of the Remarkable League, and so all my decor is still up right behind me, and
I
of
love
course,
it. I think it needs to stay there for a while.
I think it'll stay for a while. It's gonna
Yeah.
have to. Next week, we do a big deep dive into business, so I'll leave it up to celebrate them for that.
Nice.
Well, one thing that you and I started talking about before I hit record, and I'm like, we should just be recording this for sure, is how the industry does shift and change. And a lot of people are coming online to create courses. And sometimes there's a fear of what I create is going to be copied or used, or I mean, even the whole discussion around AI art. And you and I both like immediately came to this consensus of it's not mine. It's the universe. I don't care. Let it go. Bless
Yeah.
and release.
Yeah.
Like just whatever you're going to make. I don't feel like I own my art. Like, yeah, I have some interesting and unusual ideas sometimes, but when I teach it, once it's out into the world, I expect people to take on it and iterate after it. And I'm not policing anyone on that because there's really nothing new under the sun. Where did I get my ideas from? Right?
Right. Right. We're all under the influence of the pool that we're in.
Right.
There's no changing that. We're swimming in the same water. We're going to be influenced by it. And I just think that I prefer energetically to just have that mentality of like, once I release it, it is
Yeah.
yours. My intention for this is to just help other people feel like it's less difficult to be creative, like take down all those barriers. Oh,
Right.
look, she just slapped a couple things down. I like the way that looks. Let me try that. That's what I want. I want people to feel empowered and able to be creative in short little bursts of time. That is my whole purpose. And if
Yeah.
that's what they're doing, great. If I get credit, that's sweet. That's nice. That's like cherry on the top, pat on the back, but that's not why I'm doing it. I'm
Yeah.
doing it because I think that it's so vitally healing and important to get my hands in there and do something, anything as often as I can.
And for people to have no, for me, I want my students to have no fear
Right.
of me at all policing them or
Right.
worrying about who's making what and how they're making it or whose idea it was first. I started doing the grid journal, like
Yeah.
just obsessively doing it. And I've seen it done so many times by so many other people, but I started doing it to the point that people are like, show me more. So I just made a free course for it. Like
Yeah.
I don't even, and someone made a point on it to say, but so and so did that before you. And I'm like, yeah, it's really
Right.
awesome. But also my dad showed me how to do it too. So
Yeah.
whose idea was it first? I don't own it. If somebody does grid journaling, great. If they give me credit, like you said, that's even better because if you're giving me a little bit of credit, what happens is people can come get the free course and more people can do it.
Right.
Like
That's the
that's
whole
just how I
point.
feel. Like I'm
That's
not
the
trying
whole
to own it,
point.
but don't tell me someone did it before. Of course,
Right. Yeah.
look at any famous artists from history and their
Yeah.
sketchbooks. People did thumbnails and grids for
Yeah.
ages. Like I
Yeah.
just put my own spin on it, and somebody else is going to put a different spin on it, and just go for
Exactly.
it.
And then
Who
we get to
cares?
all enjoy the soup together, right?
Right,
We get to all enjoy
exactly.
the flavors. I do this thing called Under the Influence, which I pick, which I'm hoping that I can have you in my next season. I do this thing with Under the Influence, and we do exactly that. Just like with the apprentices used to follow a master, right? And
Right.
learn under them. I'm taking that and just modernizing it. And we're looking at people like Kellee Wynne. And we're like, look at what are the elements that Kellee Wynne's using? What makes me lean in and be like, ooh, how'd she do that? I want to incorporate a little piece of that spice in my work, right? We're not there to copy and try and pass ourselves off as Kellee Wynne. We're just saying, oh my gosh, I love that. Let me honor that which I love and let me try it in my own work. And then, we have our own soup. We can't be Kellee Wynne, right? Nobody
The
can
soup
be
of it.
you.
Okay, so for two things. First, my thought is there's always going to be an iteration. So I think the key that you said is as long as you're not trying to pass it off, if
Nope.
you copy somebody and pass yourself off as being that person,
Yeah.
that would be the weird part. But
Right.
if what you're doing is taking that idea and creating from it,
Yep.
and even if it looks similar to me, I'm like, go for it. Awesome, wonderful, more art in the world. But your program, Under the Influence, is how I met you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason I knew who you were. And it must have been pre-pandemic because it was a
Yep.
long time ago that you had reached out and said, and I thought that was really sweet that you asked for permission. At first, I'm like, this is weird. Like, so they're going to copy me in class. And then I let go and I'm like, no, they're studying somebody that they want to learn from and then
Yep.
creating. And I almost was like, if I had time at the time, like, how can I help you is really
Oh, yeah.
what my instinct ended up leaning to. Like, but I don't know why after that I got so busy and then we didn't stay connected until now, full circle, and we are connected again. And I
Yeah.
love that idea because you're right. Master study, you go to art college, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, and I
Exactly.
didn't go to university. I took art courses in university, but I didn't go to university and finish some fine art degree. But that's what you do. You go to the National Gallery of Art and people are literally, their canvases are up, copying bit by bit, painting.
Right. Because that's how we
Exactly.
learn.
Exactly.
And that's how we learn what we like by paying attention and noticing. And that's all I'm doing. And Under the Influences, I'm like your tour guide. And I'm like, ooh, notice this. Ooh, notice that. I notice this. What do you notice? And we have conversation around what other people noticed. We do this little tour of the Instagram feed and like, what did you notice? What did you notice? And then we work on our own things and nobody's making everybody's work looks so completely different. And yeah, there's the flavor, maybe the little, so we're using turmeric this time. Everybody's work comes out with a little bit of turmeric, but it's fantastic.
Right. And even if you were to mimic a style of somebody you admire a lot, if you keep going, your own voice is going to come out eventually.
Absolutely.
So if that's your starting point is one of my
Yep.
classes to create much like I create, great. Just keep going until the iterations change and it becomes you. And that's
Exactly.
my big pet peeve. And I'm going to like put my neck out right on the chopping block for this one. My big pet peeve with AI art and everyone being up in arms against it. Before AI art, people were stealing your images already. People were using your ideas already. And I made a decision when I went online with my art in the early, like around 2010, 2012, I started putting my art online everywhere. And I was like, well, should I watermark it? Should I whatever? What if someone in China makes a rug out of my painting? And I just decided at that point, I probably read an article that someone's like, let it go. You're not going to stop it. You have to choose to be fearful of your resource or believe that life is abundant. Those who are using AI art to mimic another artist weren't going to go and buy that artist's art anyway.
Nope.
And so I know that a lot of people are like, but it's stealing, but it's really an iteration of somebody else's idea, then evolving and evolving and evolving. And I'm not scared of AI art. I'm not scared of the digital world. I'm really not scared of anything being stolen. I don't have the energy for that.
No.
There's enough for all of us.
There is enough, and I tend to want to reserve my energy for just making more new cool things.
And helping more people make new
That's
cool
right.
things.
That's right.
That's really all I care about. There's enough for me.
Absolutely.
I don't feel like my brand is diluted by that. And I see some artists in our industry, like Ardith Goodwin, who is actually using the AI art
I saw
to
that.
her advantage, and it's
That
unbelievable.
was so cool.
I know, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm taking the balance between the problematic." It is problematic that you can just say, "Make me a painting in Van Gogh's style," and it looks just like Van Gogh, but it's not Van Gogh's art. And you can
Right.
do that with modern living artists, I get that. There is some problematic to it, but we can't stop it now, so why worry about it? So
Right.
she's embracing it and turning her own ideas into new ideas, and it's like, "What?"
Yeah.
It's so cool. I should probably have her on again and have a
Yeah.
discussion about that.
Totally.
I
Because
wanna see where
that thing
she's
right
going.
there was just like, oh, how
Yeah.
yeah, hello.
Yeah, save a
Yeah.
little bit of time trying to figure
Yeah.
something out, let AI iterate your own work into something new, like,
Uh-huh.
that could
Yeah.
be really fascinating.
Right.
Alright, so anyone who's listening who's an AI art expert, please reach out to me because 'cause I'd love to have a discussion with you
For
about
sure. For
it.
sure.
Or even ChatGPT is my new obsession. I'm like, I can write
Same.
a little less by letting ChatGPT do it. Have you ever put into ChatGPT like I did this one day? I'm like, write a bio for Kellee Wynne Conrad. That's all I
Ooh,
said. Brand new chat. And it knew who I was enough to write a bio. It wasn't perfect, but I'm
really?
like,
I'm gonna try that one. I'm gonna
yeah,
try that one. I don't think yeah. We'll be curious. We'll be
things are
curious.
going to change and evolve and we have no control over it. So let's
Yep.
just get more into the heart of
Let's just write, and the whole
making.
point of it, is to be creative, connect with
Yeah.
our creative self and express that and bring joy, right?
Yeah, not in competition with everybody.
Well,
There's
it's
so much
creative.
space for us all to be creating courses, to create workshops, to create summits, to create retreats in far off places. There's more than enough because there's 8 billion people and no one ever stops and says, but somebody's already created that restaurant. Yes, how many Italian restaurants are
I
there?
know,
Or
right?
Mexican food restaurants are there? And can we have more? Yes, more tacos, please.
Always.
Right?
Always.
No one gets
Yes.
tired of tacos and no one's going to get tired of your art either if you
No,
just keep showing up. I always think
exactly.
of too, like the gym trainer, like, oh, but there's already so many art courses. I'm like, and there are already so many gyms and gym trainers, and yet we still seem to need them because go full circle to the beginning. It's part of self-care,
Absolutely. It
right?
is. It is. And that's my soapbox, right? I'm going to step up on that soapbox every time people start talking to me about, it looks like you do so much. I'm like, no, I do just enough. I do. I'm the girl who's going to be like, okay, how much work do I have to do to get a B? Because that's what I want. Right. And then I'm like, I'm
I
not going to
agree.
overwork. Yeah.
My kids who come to me and they're like, "Mom, C's get degrees, so lay off." I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
fine." But
Yeah.
yeah, let's just be work. It does not that I got over the perfectionism a long time ago so that we could
Yeah.
just enjoy more of the
I
process.
did in certain areas of my life. And then it popped up in other areas. I'm like, wait, I didn't think I was a perfectionist. My trainer actually was like relaying that to her, how my therapist was like, was that a surprise to you that you just found out that you're a perfectionist? I'm like, yes. I keep calling it because in my art, I'm an imperfectionist. Close enough, good enough, it's fine. Not about the perfectionism. And then it pops up in other areas of my life. I'm like, doggone it. I thought I'd evaded you, you tricky little sneaker.
For
Yeah.
real. Like,
Yeah.
especially showing up online where I keep saying, "It doesn't matter, just show up as yourself. Doesn't have to be a perfect picture," and yet here I am. "Well, my hair and makeup's not done today, so I guess I'm not going online." And I'm like, "What is
I
going
do
on
the
with
same
that?"
thing. I
Like,
do the same thing until I don't. You'll go back and you'll see some of in my YouTube. I do an intro every week for the lessons that are going into my membership. My web designer pulled one of those videos just randomly, and I'm like, I don't think my hair is done. And I'm like, I don't care, really. She picked it, and she thought it
yeah,
was fine. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just too self conscious about it. But
too.
it's all
Well,
good.
part of that has to do with I'm gonna hate myself for saying this, but for age,
Mhm.
and I keep thinking, "Oh, no, but I'm still, like, just 32 years old, right?" But no, because I hit the big 50 this year, and I'm, like, always thinking, like, "Well, now there's wrinkles, and did you see that on my
I
neck?"
cannot wait. I cannot wait to grow into the old crone, the like the wise old woman that everybody's like, "Oh, go ask Andrea, she'll know." right? I cannot wait. So I'm all like, bring it on, bring it
Yeah,
on. That old wise woman, she's in me. She's been in me the whole time,
me
right?
too.
And it's
And
she's like
honestly,
waiting
those
for
are the
her
people I
heyday,
admire the most too.
right?
Why am I having a hard time with it?
I don't know. Society. I don't know.
It
Like I
is.
can't wait till I'm totally white. My hair is like very
Awesome.
gray, but I'm like, oh, I can't wait till it's totally
Your
white.
hair looks awesome. It's gorgeous. Silver, shiny, almost like blonde highlights. It looks amazing.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
I need to let go a little bit more of that. And you're right, society may have something to do with that, or especially what we see other people doing on
you.
Instagram. It doesn't have to be that way. And so maybe I'll challenge myself to just let go a lot more.
Yeah, right. And what a vision that is for other people. I think that I discount how showing up imperfect and as I am making mistakes and being like, well, next time I do this, I'll try it differently. I discount the gift that that gives actually other people to
Mhm.
be able to, well, if she can show up imperfectly and she shares that, then I have permission to do the same thing. So, we think about when we do something like that and we are transparent and vulnerable and it's
Right.
scary and we're afraid of judgment, but we do it anyway. Like that's such a gift to other people to show them that, oh, I can do that too.
Yeah, instead of always the perfectly poised photos and the cleverly written captions and I think that might be why I hit a wall
It's
this
probably AI. It was probably AI generated. No, I'm kidding. But they're
we're
perfect
working
photos.
on my
Now
team
we
and
know
I
they
are
can
working on
see.
it. Yeah, I did hit a wall this week of like, I am so bored of Instagram. I'm so bored of
Mhm.
social media. There's got to be a better solution. I'm not saying don't do, I mean, it's been the best tool for building a business, but
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it. I'm not even begrudging how it is, even though they want to roll out this pay for your blue tick thing that I'm like, well, you can take your blue check mark and shove it. Sorry. But it's really just I'm bored of it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's so repetitive now and we're not being very clever. And maybe you just struck on something. It's because I'm not allowing myself to just show what
Mm,
real is, what Insta is, not what's
yeah.
pre-planned and curated.
Right.
So, all right, I'm gonna kind of take that as a little nudge to like just show more of a like honest to God, people I get up tired, bleary-eyed at 7, and I sit on the couch with the dogs and wave goodbye to my family while I drink coffee and post on social media to like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning before I'm actually like moving. And that is really boring and lazy, but who wants to see that? All right, fine. Maybe more dogs.
Well, maybe more people that feel like they're a boring, lazy existence. And they're like, oh, I bet Kellee Wynn's mornings are just magical. I bet
They're
she's
not.
just, they're going to feel like, oh, she's just a normal person too. I kid you not, big creators. I'm thinking, man, they must just have like everything all lined up. They must have like a content, like all of this stuff, right? And then you're like, oh, they're human too. That's really
Yeah.
sweet. Like it's endearing. I think it's endearing. And I've definitely done the shots of my studio is a hot mess. It's not one of those curated, like, really beautiful ones, which I love. I adore looking at them, but mine is very functional. It's
Mine
not super
is.
aesthetic, but man, everything is within my reach.
All
Right.
right. So then for this podcast post in the show notes, we should both have a picture of our messy studio. How's
Oh,
that?
God, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh, yikes. Don't move anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
As soon as we're done talking, we'll just take a picture of how we
Oh
are
my
with
God.
all the stuff I
There's
piled
no
on the floor
way.
from the last project I did.
I know. That is so scary, but I will do it for you.
Okay. Because I
Because you
want
know
everybody
what?
to know. Well, at least we don't have to show us messy hair to no makeup on the couch in the morning.
I know, right?
I didn't push for that yet, but
I showed my couch the other day, just not me on the couch. I was like, I'm glad that my art can go to the couch with me as I'm recouping from this bug.
yeah. Well, I'm glad you're recovering quick enough that
I
you're
know, right?
back. Yeah, nasty thing that it is, but don't let it stop you from living your life. To everyone who's listening,
Nope.
we have to just
Yep.
get back out there and do things now, and I just love that.
Absolutely.
So tell
Absolutely.
me before I don't want to jump off yet. We have a little bit more time. I want to talk more about you and your plans and your future and your vision, like with a work of heart studio and how you want to keep teaching and encouraging this passion that you have for getting people to make art for themselves and be creative.
Oh, well, more of, I always say, more of this. Yes, please and thank you.
Mhm.
So definitely I have 4 more years on the lease here in San Jose at the 176 Ray Street, a work of heart, the building that it's in. I would love to pass that along to somebody. I would love somebody to come in and be like, I want to occupy 176 Race Street in San Jose. So I'd love to sell it because our big plan is to eventually be up in the Northwest. All three of my kids landed in Seattle.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so I have three adult kids in Seattle, and we have property up there as well. And I want to build a retreat center. I want to build a big property. All of my kids are creative and artists and makers and all of that. So I want to build some big property where we can have all of our fun, geeky equipment. My
Oh my
husband's into
goodness.
laser, we have lasers and 3D printers, and my son is a mechanical engineer as well. And my
Oh,
other
wow.
kids are, builders and anyway, potters. My daughter's a potter. So anyway, we're going to build a big retreat center in Seattle area.
Mhm.
And I would love to host retreats there and be able to just do my art and continue to teach online and then host retreats in that space. So that is the goal. That's the dream. That's the trajectory. That's what we're manifesting right now. I've been in the Bay Area in the commercial spaces that I've been in for 20 some odd years. So it's, it's coming to the end of where I want to be really tied to a physical space all the time that's, got doors that open and
Right. That
4
you're
hours.
paying rent rather than owning.
Exactly.
And San
Exactly.
Jose isn't exactly the cheapest place to be anyway.
No, it's not. It's not. Now, not that the, Seattle area is either, but
Yeah.
would
Well, I love the
yeah,
Pacific Northwest and I have family in Bellingham, so there's no doubt that I will be up to the Pacific Northwest to join
excellent.
you in your fun adventures while I create something on the East Coast, because that's kind of almost the same dream my husband and I have, because
Nice.
he is a big, like, in the most lovable, cool way, a big nerd, like,
Yes.
and all my boys are too, like,
Oh,
all
marry a
Dungeons and
nerd. Women, marry a
Dragons, the
nerd. They're the
gaming.
best. Yes.
He would love to have a creative business. Right now he works for the government, but he would love to have a creative business as well. And we're like looking at like early retirement for him, and that's exciting to me. Like,
Yeah.
we'll still be young enough to like be gallivanting around the world and doing fun things and having
Yep.
adventures. So,
Yep.
and
I
my
want,
business is
yeah.
portable. That's awesome. So I love it.
Yes.
East
So
Coast and West Coast
there
then.
you go.
I love that. That's a good, big, audacious dream.
It is a good, yeah, it's a good one. And it's like every day I like to think about it. It's like this dream that I take out and I'm like, oh, what would it look like? And that's how I've done all of my business from now. It's always been pen to paper, dreaming big,
Mhm.
big, bigger, biggest, right? Like
Writing it down.
oh my goodness, it's such a huge part of my practice is
Yeah.
pen to paper. And all of my dreams come out of that. And they all manage to manifest and just
Yeah. Hard work,
become
but vision and knowing and
for
speaking it
sure.
out into the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. So this year you have, well, I'm inviting you on to Deck of Dreams. So for those who know, my Color Crush creative side of my business is all about art, and a lot of it is my courses, but I'm really trying to transition to showcase a lot of other people. And I have my Deck of Dreams. And I just asked Andrea to come and join. So this fall you'll see her teaching a class there. You're going to continue on with um you're highlighting other artists in your teaching the
Yeah. So I do Under the Influence quarterly. So there's 4 quarters this year. I'm getting ready to start Q2 at the beginning of May. And then Q3 and Q4, right? Every quarter we have 2 months of classes. So they're 9-week series. And I bring on different artists that we feature every time. And then my mixed media membership is called Watch, Learn, Play. And
Oh, awesome.
Watch, Learn, Play is they're just bite-sized little sort of snack-sized mixed media lessons. When I created that, I was like, this is how I consume content. I want to see it really short,
Me too.
and just get the seed of the idea, and then I'm going to run with it. And so that's how I design it's just whatever is in front of me, what I'm excited about, what techniques I want to try. They're short, sweet. I do a lot of things with mixed media prompts. And so
Ooh, yeah.
a lot of my work is done just by pulling a prompt card. Like some people would pull a different kind of card, right? I'm like, pull a prompt card. Where are we going to start today? Oh, collage. Okay, we're going to start there. Right. So yeah, Watch, Learn, Play is a full membership that has a huge library of all these little short lessons. And then there's live content there too. We have weekly office hours where we check in, and it's just co-working time, which is really fun. It's where I get all my good Netflix and Hulu recommendations, like what should I watch
Yes.
next?
Yes.
And then the third Friday of the month, we have a live class, and then quarterly I do retreats in there. So it's a fun
That is
little membership.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love that idea too, because life is busy and we need something quick that we can,
Yes.
then if we, you know, in memberships, if you feel like you're behind and there's all these big projects, you're never going to get to it. But to know that you can just jump in and just learn a few new things to add to your arsenal of mixed media techniques, it's like super fun and easy.
Yeah, it's perfect to just sit with your cup of coffee on the couch in the morning, watch a little lesson, and then
Right.
go on today. Yeah.
And then the next time you're in your studio, you can studio, kitchen table, wherever it
Right,
is.
wherever it
I
is.
have this full studio of space. It's just a bedroom upstairs, you know, and I'm
Yeah.
lucky for that. It's not fancy. Mine is like yours. It's not fancy. It's not one day I want like a barn sized studio for sure. But I don't come here to create that much except for when I'm teaching. So I bring stuff downstairs now where I can like hang out with the family, play with the dogs, listen to a podcast. And then I want, like you, like some couch crafts, like
Yeah.
still stuff that I can then put into my artwork later. And I've been
Yeah.
working on that extreme layering idea, which is one of the lessons that we're going to do at your studio.
Yeah.
So
Super exciting.
look, now I'll just make sure everybody is following you at it's at a work of heart, correct, on Instagram?
A work of art studio.
A work of
Mhm.
heart studio on Instagram. And
Yeah.
of course, we're going to have all the links and every little bit of connection that they need in the comments in the show notes so everyone can
Perfect.
find Andrea. And
Perfect.
it's been awesome. I'm going to have you back on again, maybe in
Yeah.
closer to September when you are a guest, but
Yeah,
maybe
for
just
sure.
have you regularly so we can just chat for fun.
Oh, we can definitely think of lots of things to talk about. I have a feeling.
No doubt. And when I come to visit her, everyone who's listening, don't be jealous, but we're going to be going to the big antique thing. What's
We
it called
are
again? It's the
called Antiques by the Bay. It's
antiques.
the or lovingly known as the Alameda Flea Market.
Yeah.
But it is all everything there has to be 25 years old or older to be at the show. So it's
Oh,
old stuff. But then we start feeling really old when like the Garfield telephone is there and we're like, oh, but wait, didn't I have that as a kid? Does that mean I'm old?
yes. Yes.
Scooby-Doo. Yeah.
The 90s. We need
Yes.
it's from the 90s. It's old enough to be in the antique show. Hey,
Nice.
go power, old crones unite.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking
Awesome.
forward to it. Yeah, it's gonna be so fun.
Thank you so much. Until next time.
All right. Thank you, Kellee.